The next day, I walk up to my usual vending machine at lunch, only to find out that it's out of my favorite drink. So basically, my entire day is justifiably completely ruined. Secreted so far away from most of the classrooms between the storeroom and the library, it's like no one knew about it. Well, clearly they did. Oh, you wouldn't have run out of your drink then, would ya? Hey, I'd expected a vending machine so close to the library to be booming with customers, but then again, libraries are for nerds. The library is empty most of the time, and anyone who goes in there is only doing it to looking for stuff to pad a paper with. No one stays there longer than they absolutely have to. For the past month, it's been working out in my favor, but the trade-off with a vending machine no one knows about is that's never restocked. I don't know why we needed a sound effect for that. We so rarely have sound effects that really threw me off. Settling for a can of orange soda, I decide on drinking it here instead of waiting until I get to the cafeteria when the library door opens next to me. Suddenly, a Yuko appears. Ah! I've been looking for you. Yuko seems to be acting a lot more assertive than usual today. This obviously alarms me greatly, although it isn't enough to keep me from going back to mumbling immediately afterwards. Return your books, please. I mean, the library's books. The books you checked out are really overdue. Some of them are on waiting lists. Oops, I forgot. I keep checking out new ones and forget to return the old ones. That happens to me all the time at the university library. It's so embarrassing. Do they send someone to try and get you to bring them back? No, the university library is bigger. They don't notice if I happen to borrow something longer than normal. It is convenient because their policy on keeping the books too long is really strict. Stricter than here. I like how despite what she said, Yuko had no problem with borrowing books for longer than she's supposed to anyway. It makes her being so on top of my own lateness a little hypocritical. Takes a thief to know a thief, I guess. Catching on the meaning of her words around the same time I do, Yuko clams up and starts backpedaling furiously. That's different for this situation. It's totally different. Yuko stares at her nails for a second if she wants to bite them, but is too self-conscious to do so. So, you know, vicious cycle that. For instance, how long it's been. You checked out some of these books months ago, Hisao. Sorry, it's just that other people want to read them too. If you're a slow reader, that's okay, though. No, it's a total screw-up on my part. To be honest, I haven't even read some of them, and I shouldn't keep taking out books when I have a backlog. Well, that's not good. Yeah, it really isn't. Now I'm starting to copy her habit of trailing off quietly. Her awkwardness is very contagious for some reason. That said, I'm surprised. Yuko seems almost normal today. Although every now and then, her waitressy nervous tics keep popping back up. Come to think of it, she didn't act this way when I first met her. She was a little clumsy and neurotic, but it wasn't anywhere near this severe until Shizune Misha and I ran into her at the Shanghai. It could be that Yuko has a complex about having kids from the school seeing her waitressing? I guess it was a little odd for her to pick the closest cafe to the school to work in, then. In that case, maybe the place having so few customers could be considered a lucky break. Well, I get it. I'll return them right after school. As soon as possible, please. Wait, can I ask you for one more thing? Depends on how incredibly difficult the question is. If it's something simple, yes. Otherwise, probably not. Sure, what is it? I have to go for a while, but I can't just leave the library empty. Sorry, but can I ask you to watch it while I'm gone? Just for a little bit? I'll be right back as soon as possible. You're in the student council, so I'm sure if you did it, it would be okay. Alright, I'll do it. Don't worry about it. Thank you! Yuko quickly slides forward as she's so grateful she's about to give me a hug, but she stops 2 centimeters into it, which ultimately just makes the gesture look extremely confusing. I'm also surprised that she can control her momentum so well, since she seems kind of clumsy. Before I can say as much as "you're welcome," she's already dashing off with the urgency of someone late to an appointment. That could be the case, but I wouldn't feel safe assuming so. It's Yuko, and she seems like the kind of person to treat everything that way. Now that I'm in the librarium, I feel a bit silly. I don't really know what I'm supposed to do. Should I sit down like I normally would and read? Probably would do, but wouldn't meet Yuko's high standards. Maybe I should sit at the librarian's desk and give anyone who comes in a stern, analytical glare. I use Shizune's as a starting point and practice it a couple times on the mirrored surface of a pen. I think it looks pretty good. Frustratingly, no one comes in, so I give up on the idea quickly and decide to just go looking for Hanako instead. It's deserted. I think I see someone, but the second I blink, whoever it is gone. A ninja ghost. As soon as I return to Yuko's desk and crack open an interesting-looking book, a familiar person swings in front of me like a falling pendulum. Oh no! That's not good. Yo, librarian, I've been looking for you for like 10 minutes. Wait, it's you? Man, you must really get around, or the student council makes you go around. Those gals of not decent standing, how could they? Slave drivers! He must be exaggerating. He's definitely exaggerating. That's literally all he ever does. Because it took me 30 seconds just to do a slow walk around the whole place. The thought is overridden by my surprise to see him. Where did you come from? What are you doing here? What, can a guy go to the library now? I can't even go to the library without some young buck like you giving me the 3rd degree over it? I see some girl coming in here all the time, but no one ever asks her what she's doing here. It's because she reads and I don't? I mean, probably, if I had to be honest, yeah. You must be talking about Hanako. Although I suppose they both avoid people. I want to tell him that reading is what you usually do in a library, so if he's not reading, whatever he's doing is bound to make him look way more suspicious than her. In the end, though, I'm too surprised by him practically appearing out of thin air. That doesn't tell me what you're doing here. I'm here because of you! His response makes me feel confused. Maybe I fell asleep and this is all just some weird dream? That'd be nice. And this Kenji isn't real, but really my subconscious? Is he gonna start giving me deep but vaguely worded advice now? Because of you, I got chased out of my dorm by Femis, apparently. I don't know how that happened or how on earth it's my fault. I'm sure it didn't actually happen and he just thinks it did. Now I wander this library like a soldier without a country or a ghost. I should haunt you for ruining things for me. It's a shame. Would have been an interesting dream, but it seems like this is the real deal. Yeah, you had to start working with women, and that brought them to my door. You remember that? You should, since you were there. After that day, I knew they were on to me. I should have trusted my instincts, but I was so young and stupid. That wasn't even a week ago. And my dad called and said one of my letters hadn't been delivered. The post office couldn't have lost it, so it must have been intercepted. Information warfare! That's when I kept my secret hideout was compromised. Now I'm on the run, like a fugitive. It's code red. Dorm rooms aren't secret. They put your name and number on a board right in the doorway. I know, I saw that. That's diabolical. Why not just put up a big Wild West wanted poster if they're gonna be like that? Wanted, dead or alive. Probably alive so they can clone me or turn me into a grasshopper. You know, that's actually a very, like, I'm sorry, that kind of floored me just a little bit. In the long line of delusional nonsense that this man has spewed out of his head hole, that's just confusingly weird. Jumping without warning into the empty chair opposite me, Kenji takes out a cigarette and starts spinning it between his fingers. I've never seen him smoking before, so it must be for effect. I can't even live where I want to anymore. This is where it all begins. The tactical brilliance. I mean, once they're in your home, it's over, like termites. If the feminist plan for dominance starts there, where the hell can we go? The only question is, how can they take a page out of the termite playbook when women are naturally repelled by wood? What? Is that like... Do you think they're like flies being deterred by bags of hanging water? Like, what the hell are you on about? You can never go home again. Is that how the saying goes? Man, I don't know about never. I was just there. I don't know anywhere else I can shower and get new clothes, and eat, and use the bathroom, and watch TV. I have to keep watching the news to keep informed. For someone ousted from his dorm room and living on the run, he sure has no qualms about going back there several times a day for long periods of time. But by now, he's slowly turned away from me and is talking to a revolving display of murder, to a revolving display of murder mysteries. There's really no point in interrupting him, I guess. I finish off my soda and throw the can into the basket near the door. It hits the rim, but goes in anyway. I silently pump my fist. Kenji quickly gets up and starts to head toward the door. I wasn't really paying attention. I hope I didn't fist pump at an inappropriate moment. Where are you going? You kept sucking down that juice. Oh, it wasn't even juice, it was soda. And it's gone now. And what do you mean sucking it down? I had 2 sips. Yeah, right, you had like 50 million sips. That's not even possible. If they're small enough, yeah, probably you could, actually. Maybe for you. I go beyond the impossible all the time. Okay, whatever, now I'm thirsty too. I'm gonna get my own juice. I'll be right back. Hopefully I can leave before that happens. He does come almost right back, so quickly that I suspect he knows about my secret vending machine. I got you one too. Hope you like grape juice. We're even for the pizza now. Thanks. I want to tell him that I lent him nearly 10 times the cost of a can of grape juice, but that might make me seem petty. Unopposed, Kenji sits down and starts furiously drinking juice like a man with a vendetta against grapes. You know, it's a lucky break for me that I managed to run into you here, man. I kind of need you to do me a favor. Although it's cynical, I wonder if him getting me juice was so he could ask me for this favor. If so, it's very transparent and poorly timed. I doubt Kenji would think about something so deeply, though. Just asking for things straight out is more his style. I need you to recommend me some books. But I thought you didn't read. How did you know? You told me. You said that you said you think people discriminate against you because you don't read. Well, they do, and I do read. I read audiobooks because that's the way of the future. I mean, to be fair, he's not actually wrong about that part. Audiobooks did become very popular. I have to read a book for a month for literacy studies, though, and I found out that the school doesn't really accept such classes as advanced cryptography. If I don't read a bunch of books, they're gonna fail me. I can't fail literacy studies. That would make me illiterate. That would mean my mom was right. My mom can't be right. I'll just have to study literacy as much as possible. What about doing some extra credit? No thanks. It's bad enough I'm gonna have to carry around these stupid things now. He picks up a dictionary, flips through it, and places it on the murder mystery rack behind him. Can't believe this is actually the medium that our ancestors used to look at porn. What? I spit my drink all over the book I'm still holding, damaging it beyond any hope of repair. I quickly checked the back and see its suggested retail price is 7,900 yen. I think I might have a heart attack. Wow, destroyed. Shouldn't have done that, though. They take vandalism super seriously here. You're gonna get canned. He chortles, amused, before taking an extremely long, loud sip from his can of juice. It's not vandalism. I didn't do it on purpose. You made me do it, with your words. And what do you mean canned? I don't want to be canned. Hey, chill out. I didn't mean they'd actually cane you. Caned, right. They just make you pay for it and really, really yell at you. It's like they were gonna bite my ass off. Still not that big a deal. I don't care if it's figurative. I don't want to get caned or get my ass bitten off or any kind of punishment, you dumbass. What am I gonna do? I'm the only person here that she knows of anyway. I can't even throw the book in the trash. It'll be found. Then she'll know. Damn, dude, stop being so weird. Why is this a thing that's happening to me? How is it weird to not want to be fined? Man, stop flipping out, man. I'm not flipping out. I'm trying to save money. So cheap. I'm about to strangle him when I hear Misha's wahaha coming up the hallway. Apparently, Kenji hears it too and uses the opportunity to quickly vanish behind the autobiography section, like the wind. And never before have I been more happy to be about to be assaulted by Misha's overwhelming cheeriness. At least I assume she'll be cheery. She is wahahaing. There she be. Hi, Hichan. Yeah, okay. Oh, Misha shouts exuberantly, dragging an embarrassed Yuko behind her. Hichan, were you talking to yourself? On one hand, saying yes could make me look kind of crazy. On the other hand, if I blow Kenji's cover, he might go off and make me look crazy by association. Yes. Haha, that's okay. Don't be embarrassed, Hichan. I do it too sometimes when I'm all alone. La la la. Nothing happened while I was gone? Absolutely nothing. It smells like grapes. I'm wearing grape-scented cologne. I lie brazenly and obviously. From her reaction, I'm going to assume that she knows I'm lying, or thinks I have an abysmal sense for colognes. Since the can of grape juice I drank from is still right there, it's likely to be the former. Fortunately, she doesn't ask any follow-up questions. What are you two doing together? We had lunch together. Strictly business. A business lunch. I try to picture Misha in a suit having a business lunch with anyone. Somehow I just can't see it, although it is a hilarious image. What kind of business? You don't know? Haha, it's nothing. It's normal for one part of the student council to not know what the other is doing. Hey, don't nothing something like that. This isn't normal at all. In fact, it's bad. We're only 3 people. Yuko laughs nervously. She must be terrified. Misha says that you want to put posters in the library for the elections. Even though they're really far away, I guess it's okay. I didn't know that I could even decide those kinds of things. You can! Isn't that great? Haha, aren't you happy? Yay! Misha grabs Yuko's hands and forces her to clap joyously for her. Yuko doesn't look very happy about learning that she has more responsibility and power than she'd previously thought. Hey-chan, since you're here, you can help me put them up. Pulling out a giant stack of posters from her bag, she cuts them in half like a deck of cards and passes me the slightly smooshed half. Shi-chan had a really good idea. We could put some flyers inside books, too. Then, even if they try to ignore us, they won't be able to. They could even be spring-loaded. Misha tries her best to convey the same tone Shizune used. It sounds close to the real thing, but also a little menacing. She was probably kidding. I liked it. No, please, not that. A super ultra aggressive marketing blitz. We're gonna start going door to door too. That's a terrible idea. Misha pouts in her best Shizune impression, fingertips tapping together rapidly in annoyance. Hichan, you think every idea is terrible. Yeah, but that idea is too terrible. Too terrible to ignore. I can't have that. Haha, Hichan, that sounds like a challenge. Mutiny. Mutiny! Mutiny is bad. Don't fight. Waha! It was just a joke. Okay. Don't fight. The way Yuko sounds when she's trying to be firm makes me think of a kindergarten teacher. I suppose that makes her very persuasive in her own way. Putting up the posters is surprisingly hard, simply because the library is already plastered with bulletin boards and flyers lining every couple meters. Some of them in places so unlikely that I'd never noticed them before. Deciding which of them to peel off in favor of our own adds a lot of time to an otherwise simple job. By the time the bell rings to signal the end of lunch, Misha and I still have a sizable amount of posters left. As we leave, I decide to stick one right by the door. Must be the one that Misha did. Yeah, it has a little drawing of Shizune on the bottom. It's cute. Considering the lack of people that ever bother to go into the library, I would wonder why you would need to put up more than one poster inside the library. Seems ill-advised. A couple days later, Shizune heads off to go eat lunch by herself and doesn't come back. She must be really swamped with student council work, although I know that she probably made most of that work for herself. When I get to the student council room, I find the door unlocked. Before opening it, I hold back for a second to see if I hear Misha's laughing through it. Nothing. I'd almost take that as a sign that no one's in, but Shizune wouldn't leave the door unlocked in that case. She's at her desk, sleeping in her chair with her arms folded over her chest. What a stiff pose. If it weren't for her eyes being closed, there'd be no way to tell that she was asleep. In fact, I can't even be sure that she's asleep now. Normally, I'd tap a desk to wake anyone else up, but it wouldn't work with her. I immediately start thinking of tricks I could play on her if she's sleeping. It's disappointing that my train of thought goes in those kinds of directions. Hello, good afternoon. She signs one greeting with each hand. It's really confusing. Hey, what are you doing? Secretly slacking off? Shizune smiles, but lowers her head to conceal it, and tries her best to look annoyed instead. Don't just stand there. It makes me nervous as I'm sitting down and you're not. I take a seat at the nearest chair while Shizune pauses to adjust her glasses on the bridge of her nose like she's fine-tuning an instrument, which she kind of is, honestly, as someone who wore glasses for a long time. And, I mean, I use contacts now, but I still know the tricks of the glass. Why are you so far away? Does that make you nervous, too? Pursing her lips, Shizune doesn't look too amused at my taunting her. I had some free time, so I thought I'd drop by and see if you were still busy. Do you want to help me? Yeah. Too bad. I'm grateful, but it's not necessary. I just finished the last of it, and now everything that needed to be done is done. So formal. Misha was just as business-like yesterday. Are you both getting serious for official student council business? I'm always serious, like the student council candidate should be. That was fast. From zero to immediately criticizing people who aren't even colleagues yet before I had the chance to stretch my legs. At least the presidents. They need initiative. Then maybe they can motivate everyone else, or at least strong-arm them along. But even though there's a bunch of them, there's also wishy-washy. Charlie Brown syndrome. There's no one running for vice president, so they all want the big prize, but none of them have the drive for it. And then the treasurers are always so flaky. I've decided to use my power to just eliminate the position. Wait a sec, please. Can you even do that? I don't think it works that way. It is how it is. With that, Shizune stares grimly into the distance, rubbing the frame of her glasses. That doesn't answer the question, future dictator. I'm disappointed. They should want me out of here faster because they want the job, or at least disagree with me having the job. If I can't mobilize a bunch of student council wannabes for either reason, all my work will have been for nothing. If they're gonna be so slow about it, I'll just hold on to my office as long as possible. Shizune punctuates the sentence with a snap of her fingers, creating a sound as sharp as a gunshot. I wonder if she knows how loud she can do that. It's definitely an attention grabber, so I can only see it as invaluable to a mute. She might have practiced it because of that. All of it, huh? Well, that's too harsh. I always thought this is a real test. Leaving a lasting impression is important. It's why I don't build sandcastles. They crumble when you leave. Maybe, but if I see an especially neat one, I still think it's impressive. I'll say it's impressive. I kind of admire you, so to me it wasn't for nothing. She tugs at her glasses as she wants to take them off, smiling wryly. Sorry. I was careless and something selfish slipped out. I've always wanted to stand at the top. It didn't matter what it was, as long as I was the best at it, and understood it completely and made it my own. Like when you hear a song and dream of being when you hear a song and dream of being a musician, or see a plane and wish you could be a pilot. You ever had a dream like that? Yeah. The first time I played soccer, I wondered if I could ever get good enough to wow people. No, it's just a fantasy, though. As soon as I saw the gap between me and the people with real talent, I put those dreams behind me. Well, with my heart the way it is, I can't play soccer anymore anyway. Do you still have dreams like that? No, they're unrealistic. I realized it very quickly. There's always someone better. A nostalgic expression crosses her face. She looks oddly mature right now, as if the days of competing vigorously against others for supremacy are long behind her. Of course, I know that nothing could be further from the truth. Just last week, she wanted to see which one of us could blow the biggest bubble with a piece of gum. Could be that she was even worse when she was younger. A terrifying thought. I liked that. There was always someone better. When someone greater than me would appear, I'd get so excited, I'd want to challenge them. Even though in the end, they would usually turn out to be better and I'd be left in awe, there are some people who are on a different level completely. After a while, I got jealous. I wanted something like that for myself. Is that what the student council is? The thing just for you? No, even though it feels like that sometimes. That wasn't why I decided to do it. That's another story entirely. But I like being student council president. Even if the work is hard and I'm always biting off more than I can chew, this is what keeps it exciting. People at the top shouldn't be able to be comfortable all the time anyway. You sound like a farmer. Although they wouldn't suit her, Shizune would look cute in overalls and a straw hat. So, if that wasn't the reason, why did you run for the job? I didn't. But afterwards, I decided to stick with it anyway. I wanted to be the student council president because the old student council was stupid. And I wanted to stir people up so that they'll be able to say, that was interesting, today was interesting. That kind of thing. Memorable experiences. I'm happy because I think we succeeded. You and Misha and me. I have a selfish desire too, though. At first, it was something I thought would only be a nice bonus, but I've gotten greedy. That is why it would make me happy if the elections go smoothly. It would be the only way I could see that my wish was granted. What is it, then? It's a secret. Sensing that I might not be ready to let such a weak dodge slide by so easily, Shizune quickly waves down any attempt at a follow-up, embarrassment coloring her face. It's something she wants to keep to herself only because it's too silly to do otherwise. I start to feel a pang of hunger and check my watch. It's earlier than it looks. Too early for dinner. Do you have any kind of food in your desk? For a second, it looks like the question confuses her, but she recovers quickly. Desks are for supplies. Food is supplies. You should have eaten lunch. I didn't think it would be a problem if I didn't. If I was working, I wouldn't have to think about it. I'd be too busy to be hungry. She puts her hand up to her mouth in a poor attempt to conceal a laugh and tries to hide it further by pretending to use it to push her glasses further up the bridge of her nose. I guess you're not, since you already ate. I'm not good enough to sign the appropriate words, so I settle for pointing at the stack of Chinese food containers leaning precariously out of the top of her trash can. Those are from yesterday. Then we're both hungry. Let's go get something to eat. Not from the cafeteria. There wasn't anything good at lunch, so I really doubt there will be anything good left over. Order something? Ordering out 2 days in a row is unnatural, only in case of emergencies. Well, that's my personal policy. This is why we should think of putting some snacks in her desk. It'd be an easier way of dealing with these kinds of emergencies. I want to tell her, but signing out how hungry I am like 5 times is maybe too tired to be a smartass. The temptation is really great, though. Hi, hi, hi! Misha's distinctive up and down voice sounds muffled through the door. She bursts in a second later. Oh, hey, John, you're here too. Two? How did you know there was already someone in here? If it opens, someone is inside. Wah-ha-ha! Am I interrupting? Shizune shakes her head. Great, that's really great, but I was sure I would be. Is this a break? I thought so too, but it turns out everything student council related is over for now. Is that why you're here? Haha, yeah, that's right, Hee-chan. Sorry to disappoint you. We were just discussing whether or not to order out for dinner. That sounds fun. Shizune isn't being very fun about it, though. She says that she can't order food 2 days in a row. Are you hungry too? Because if you are, we could outvote her. That sounds fun, Hee-chan. And I am a little hungry. I thought you would say it sounds like mutiny. Shizune pinches the frame of her glasses, clearly thinking that it does seem like mutiny, but being outvoted by a clean 2-to-1 margin, there's nothing she can do. Misha already has her phone out. It's awfully garish. Shi-chan, you promised we would have student council thing, just for us, right? Right? This could be it. Shizune only shakes her head. The last party she'll be able to attend as Yamaku Student Council president is too special to her to put the label on her spur-of-the-moment early dinner. Even though I'm sure the real thing will be just like this. A meal like any other with the 3 of us. After we finish eating and clean up, I say goodbye to them and head to my dorm. Although I don't feel particularly tired, I think I'll just go straight to sleep tonight. If I were back home, my mom would nag me not to go to bed right after eating, but what she doesn't know won't hurt her. I take a look at the clock as soon as I get in and realize that it's a lot later than I'd thought. It also feels a bit silly checking the clock when I have a phone and a wristwatch. I take out my watch and hold it in one hand while holding my phone in the other. It makes me feel powerful and stupid. Oh, okay, cool. I try unsuccessfully to go to sleep, and I'm glad when someone interrupts me by knocking on my door after only a few minutes. I figured that it couldn't be anyone but Kenji, which is why I'm surprised when it ends up being Misha. Suddenly, Misha. Hi, Hitan. You don't look happy to see me. No, I'm just kind of surprised. Did Shizune remember something that she wants me to do after all? It's late, but whatever. I guess it's good that it didn't change. Nope, I just thought I'd follow you back, Hee-chan. For fun? No, of course not. It's because she wants to talk. Must be about something important, and something she doesn't want Shizune to know about. You want to come in? Yeah, thanks, Hee-chan. She walks in and immediately takes a seat in the chair. The natural thing to do, but I'd expect her to sit on the bed. Hee-chan. Misha frowns harshly, arms folded over her chest. It's like she's trying to play a grim interrogator. All that's missing is the mustache and the dangling, flickering light bulb on a string. Did you make Shi-chan sad? What do you mean? When I went to the office today, Shi-chan couldn't hear me coming. That's why, when I opened the door, I saw a really confusing expression on her face. Shi-chan looked happy and sad, and I wanted to know why. Well, it wasn't because of me. I didn't even see it. I think she's depressed that she won't be student council president anymore in a few months. When I asked Shi-chan about it, she said that it was okay. Well, that's meaningless. Shizune would say that, but it's ridiculous to think that she would let it go that easily. I mean, there are times when she'll want to fight me over the last apple or chocolate milk or whatever, and that is stuff that doesn't even matter. Chocolate milk is important. For you, I'm sure this is true. Okay, it is. Don't get mad, but not as much as student council is to her. She wouldn't just wave it off so easily. You're right. I thought this was supposed to be an interrogation, but it appears Misha has already forgotten about it. But I don't want Shi-chan to lie to me to make me feel better. Wahaha, most people don't know how serious Shi-chan is and think she's just putting on a show. I'm happy that you understand her, Hee-chan. It's obvious, especially with how she talked about it today. Misha leans in close with interest, resting her head on her palms. Really? What did she say? They're close enough that I don't think much of how she's prying. Why she joined the student council, sort of. She started, but then decided that some of the stuff should stay classified and signed, "It's a secret." So I guess that's what she told me. It's a secret. Well, if someone tells you that they have a secret, you can sort of call that a secret by itself, Hee-chan. Just like how, according to you, luck is a skill. It can be. Ha ha ha. Be careful, not so loud. Why, Hee-chan? You're gonna wake up half the people in the building, and on top of that, dorms aren't co-ed. Hee-chan, are you thinking something dirty? I mean, I wasn't, no. Stop being weird. If you are, it's okay, I think. Excuse me? Hearing that makes me realize how easy it's been for me to talk to Misha all this time, that I'd be able to go this long without feeling the need to be on guard. It's the first time I have. I feel sad, Hee-chan. It's funny. The happier Shi-chan gets, the more depressed I feel, even though I should be happy for Chi-chan. I still am, but I can't talk about my problems with her. Well, why not? Just like Shi-chan can't talk about her problems to me. It's the same thing, Hee-chan. If we have that kind of problem, then I'm not sure anymore what I should do. I wonder if I'm a bad friend. Misha gets up and quickly drops herself on the bed until we're sitting only a few inches apart. Just a couple seconds later, she pushes her head forward and gives me a light kiss. It misses my lips, more due to her bad aim on her part than because of me. What are you doing? Although it's just a formality, I'd be stupid to not know what she's getting at. It's just that it seems so unlikely that I'm hoping there'll be some way I won't have to deal with it. Now she decides to be shy and giggles embarrassed. Do you like me, Hee-chan? Yeah? Her head is buried in my chest. It feels like she's talking into my scar. She might be able to feel it brushing against her cheek. I've tried too hard to hide it from both of them before. Seems like such a dumb thing to have worried about in retrospect. I'm actually legitimately uncomfortable right now. What is happening? Okay, so this, I hope I'm not wrong here. Okay, hang on. No, this is something I need to think about. Okay. So, going based off of just the words alone, it sounds like it doesn't sound like it's anything of the lewd sort, but her actions beforehand sure feel that way. And if that's the case, no. Absolutely not. Misha, there's something wrong going on here. I don't know if you're feeling okay. This is, even if you are, no. Just no. Before I can answer, she pushes her whole weight against me, and it unbalances me enough to send us both onto the bed. If I don't answer quickly, then the situation will only become more precarious. I know that I should have never let things get as tangled as they already are. So even though it isn't the most tactful way to refuse her, I push her off of me. Misha falls backwards onto the sheet so softly that it seems like she barely fell at all. That's close. She stays like that for a while before getting up with a hollow laugh. You're right, Hee-chan. I'm sorry. I'm not sure how I feel. Regretful, slightly, even though I've grown to hate regret. Sad for a multitude of reasons. I'm also a little angry, both at her and at myself, and in a way, it even seems like I'm not really feeling at all. Don't be. No, Hee-chan, it's okay. I am. Really, really. But just asking was enough for me, I think. I'm happier that you said no. Is that right? Well, that's good. Yeah, it is. Thanks, Hee-chan. She pulls herself up and leans against the wall. I'm assuming she is. My head hurts so much that I don't bother opening my eyes. I lie on my bed listening to the rustle of my hair brushing against the sheets and the grass waving in the wind outside. I guess that I should say more to reassure her, but I wonder if that would really help. Maybe it would be better to say nothing. I just don't know. Although I think that in this situation, there's no one right thing I can do. This is such a surreal event. Like, okay, I've been trying to find a way to verbalize this, but with the past ones, with stories, with Emmy and Hanako, everything was so condensed down to just the story of Hisao and Emmy, or Emmy, or Hisao and Hanako, with a tiny bit of Lily interjection here and there. But, like, The story of Shizune and Misha are so intertwined, I feel like there's an entire subplot going on here that I'm completely unaware of. Like, for every scene that I have, there's another one where it's them talking and something else is going on entirely in the background and I don't understand what any of it is. I feel like I have half a story. Good night, Hee-chan. With that, she leaves the door, clicking shut behind her like a guilty whisper. Maybe it's because I'm eager to put today behind me, but after Misha's gone, I find it much easier to fall asleep. I do so almost instantly. I feel like both of these girls have got, like, a lot of issues going on here, but I don't even know where they are, what they are, where they're coming from, or how to even attempt to help them. I'm deeply confused. I feel pretty confident I made the right choice, though. Bare minimum, no matter what. He's already in a relationship, and I don't think that was going to go any other way than the way I think it was going to go, so... That's so weird. The following morning, I wake up thinking that most of my time is going to be spent trying to avoid Shizune and Misha. What happened last evening still makes me feel uneasy. I thought that sleeping on it would help alleviate the feeling. I feel like an idiot for believing it would be that easy. I think about whether or not Misha might feel the same way. If so, she probably won't show up at school today. I'd considered doing the same, but it'd be pretty suspicious, and staying inside all day in fear doesn't appeal to me. Never really has. Like I thought, Misha isn't in class this morning. Shizune is, but today is busier than most, so she gives all her concentration on her classwork, and that means there's little idle time for her to start up a conversation with me. I'd grown so used to seeing Shizune and Misha together that I hadn't realized until yesterday how much that hadn't been the case lately. And it's a shame, because the empty seat next to me reminds me that there are a pair. So yesterday is something I'll take to my grave. If I feel this way about it, I wonder how Misha must feel. Just as regretful? When she came on to me, she was more depressed than sexy to start with. I can only imagine how much worse it would be now. I'm not a therapist or, you know, a guy who knows a lot about psychology, but I almost feel like Misha was trying to, I don't know, I feel like she was, on one hand, it's pretty obvious that she hides a lot of negative feelings behind her cheerful demeanor. Like, that much is obvious. I was able to pick up on that. But if she was willing to try and do something like that, despite knowing what she does know, she has to be in a really dark place right now. And I don't like that. Thinking about it like that, I want to see her again, but only half-heartedly. The other half of me is still terrified, even though I hate to use that word. It makes me feel ashamed, but I'm sure it's the only way to describe myself right now. I spend the next couple periods in the library, not in the mood to sit in class for the rest of the day, but unwilling to walk back to the dorms. While I'm lazily flipping through the pages of an uninteresting historical fiction novel, Shizune drops herself into the chair across from me, pouting. I think it's sort of pointless to come to school and then skip every class. Sorry. At least tell everyone that you're sick. I'm just not feeling it today. Yesterday I was fine, though. Tomorrow I'll probably be fine. Taking a sick day in the middle of the week is just too suspicious. That 24-hour flu thing or whatever won't fly. That's not suspicious. It is. I turn back to my book, but Shizune gently pulls it down in contrast with her expression, which straddles a line between concern and anger. Is something wrong? Yeah, something is deeply wrong. What? Is something bothering you? Because you're acting a little suspicious today in a different way. Not as suspicious or as uncomfortable as I would be had I not made the right choice, I feel. If there is, just tell me. They'll all be mad. I'm not good at reading people. What a ridiculous thing to say after picking up on my mood so easily. She's only half kidding, but there is some truth in it. After all, she can't hear tone and has to rely on reading to communicate with others. It's as if you could only ever have conversations with someone through text messages. That has to be with you in some way. It has to mess with you in some way. I don't know, I've communicated with somebody in purely text messages for a long time. There are some miscommunications, but eventually you just kind of get the feel for it through the words. It's probably why she stares so intently at people, in order to gauge their reaction. Or maybe it's why she pushes people so hard, to get them to react. I don't know if telling Shizune about what Misha did would be a good idea. I don't think Misha's a bad person. I've known her for too long and seen her do too many nice things to actually assume that. I just think that she has a very serious problem and doesn't know how to deal with it. I've thought about it before, but it's too hard to say for sure what Shizune's exact motivations are for anything. So I wonder how much of that was a joke. Sometimes it's easy to tell. This time it isn't. Assuming it wasn't a joke, I can't tell her anyway, because it's sign language. There's enough time to collect myself and lie effectively. Nothing. I've just been thinking a lot about the student council's future lately. I believe Misha's doing the same. Well, in her own way. So am I, but she isn't here today. I wish she would have let me know something, because I might need her help later today. Yours too, unless you're busy. Well, I'm not. Thank you. I feel like I'm losing a lot of people close to me lately. Yeah, I'm starting to feel a weird drifting sensation going on too. I can't think of a good way to respond to that. Something reassuring and confident, telling her not to worry. I'm here for you, I'm not one of those people. But who is? It seems so forced. I managed to wave of my hand that seems extremely callous as soon as I do it. You shouldn't feel that way. I might just be a little sick. Not enough to go through the trouble of making it official. It's just easier for me this way. Well, it's the wrong way. I've heard the hard way and the right way are usually the same thing, so it's not a big stretch to say the opposite is true. Yeah, fair. Well, fine. If you say you're all right, that's good enough for me. Wait. You asked me, so I'm turning it around. Is everything okay with you? All right, but at the same time, we weren't 100% truthful with her, so don't expect the same. Yes. She signs it with a moment's hesitation. After that, Shizune waits to see if I'm going to follow up on it. I don't, and she leaves. I feel like an idiot for not going further, even though I think it's better that I didn't. I've been in the library for quite a while and decided to go up to the roof for a change of pace. A fresh breeze hits me the second I open the door. This is really my favorite area of the school, I think. Then I see that I'm not the only one here. I can see a girl with bubblegum pink hair in front of me. Her back is to me, but I don't have to see her face to know who it is. I'm sure Misha's the only person in the world with hair like that. I get the feeling that I've stumbled on her at a bad moment. She obviously wants to be alone, and I wonder if she hasn't noticed my presence. If so, I'll leave right now, but she has and turns to face me. No, Ichan. I thought someone was behind me, but I didn't think it was going to be you. This time you surprised me. And she's referring to her habit of sneaking up behind me and asking me to guess who it is. I've never been surprised by that. This is some of the most ominous music I think I've heard in this game so far. Oh my god, what's happening? I'm surprised too, but this is good. I had something I wanted to talk to you about anyway. Not that. What's going on between you and Shizune? She won't tell me, so I'm asking you. Because you're easier to get an answer out of, since the sign language that gives me the leeway to lie to her gives me a cushion against my questions, so that she can easily more brush them off. When she hesitates, I push her harder. Give me an honest answer, please. It's complicated, Hichan. It's because of something that happened a long time ago. I thought I could just forget about it, but it's really hard. So, that and graduation coming up just made me want to spend more time with Shichan. But Shichan's always busy now, so we've been fighting. But I'm tired of it now, because I like Shichan. I feel like I can pick up the subtext going on here right now. So do I. No. I know you like your Shichan. I mean that I like Shichan in the same way. I want her to be my girlfriend. Misha closes her eyes like a condemned criminal confessing the last of their sins in front of the executioner. It only makes it harder for me to think of a response, and I know I have to give one. I see. I never knew. I didn't really want to come to the school, Hichan, but it sounded interesting. And even if everyone hated me, at least it felt like they would leave me alone. I was learning sign language, but wasn't very good at it. Shichan was trying to get people to join the student council, because it was the only her and Lily. Then she came up to me. I couldn't understand her at all. But Shichan wouldn't use her pen and paper. She knew that I was taking sign language classes. I was exposed quickly. I didn't know any. That only made me try harder, and I hated Shichan and thought she was making fun of me. That wasn't the reason, though. So, I slowly fell in love with Shichan, and I told her that I loved her. Uh-oh. Okay, so Misha had brown hair. It was in the student council room, you know, when it was just the two of us. I had these fantasies of Shichan staying alone in the office, trying to put everything together all by herself. It seemed so lonely to me and so sad. I think I wanted it to be that way. That way I could be there for Shichan, and maybe Shichan would like me. Even though there was no reason for me to believe it, I did anyway. I wanted it to be true, So I was okay with letting myself believe it, even though I think I knew. That day was really, really beautiful too, Hee-chan. We were done with everything, and I was looking out through the window. Even through the window, the light was so warm. I wanted to stay like that forever, next to Shi-chan. But then I looked at Shi-chan, and she had her back to the window and was still working on something, blocking out the rest of the world. The light was on her shoulders, like when I put a blanket on my shoulders as a little kid. Misha stops for a second, as if trying to hold on to the image of Shizune in her mind. Shi-chan looked... It was like Shi-chan looked in a way that made me want to be with her. But it felt like it would be hard for that to happen. Well, that was a really long time ago. My hair was different back then, too. A little messy. I cut it because Shi-chan was always talking about it. Anyway, I told her right then and there. I confessed. I was rejected. So, I thought that was it, Hee-chan. But Shi-chan was always trying to find me, and I hated Shi-chan again for it. And when I asked her why she was doing it, it was because I was her friend. Her cheeks have a hint of red in them. I wonder how much experience she had with crying, that she can keep herself from doing it so well. If she didn't pause to wipe her eyes, I might have never noticed. Having Shi-chan say that made me happy, but also sad. And even though she never meant to hurt me, it still hurts, even now. Shi-chan has a way of manipulating people, Hee-chan. Sometimes she wants to, and sometimes she doesn't really, but it happens anyway. And sometimes I'm just not sure exactly which one it is, and I feel doubt. I just wish that Shi-chan liked me instead of you. It made me wonder if I was starting to hate you and Shi-chan. Just a little. I didn't like that. So you were thinking maybe it would be better if I weren't here at all? She looks confused. The thought has never crossed her mind. That's not it, Hee-chan. I thought about it a lot these last few days, and I don't want to hate anyone, you or Shi-chan. It's so stupid that I ever felt like that, isn't it, Hee-chan? I don't want to think about that kind of stuff ever again. And missing people and being apart from them. I'm tired of it, and don't want to think about it anymore. I already did, though, so... I'm still really the worst kind of person? I wasn't thinking that it would be better if Hee-chan had never come to this school. I was thinking, wouldn't it be better if I had just died? Misha, no! Misha presses herself harder against the fence at her back, as if hoping to slip right through it. Without really thinking about it, I grab her hand. My reflexes are terrible, and I only managed to grasp onto a few of her fingers, but it's unimportant. Sorry, it's just that you said something pretty weird just now. Yeah. I guess that's right, Hee-chan. Yeah. Do you want to know what I think? Shizune is the type of person who won't let anyone close to her except on her terms. It's frustrating. Sometimes it's even infuriating. It probably would have bothered me when I was in the hospital, and anyone who shut me out was dead to me. I'd forgotten all about it until recently. Yeah, I got a letter, and it was all about that. If I was mad, I thought, how could you accuse me of closing myself off from everyone and giving up? Isn't that what everyone else did to me? What else am I supposed to do? What can I do? Yeah, even now, I know that's how it happened, but she was right too. I did close myself off. So I made up my mind that I'm not going to let that be the case ever again. The hospital? Hee-chan, is that what those pills are for? Just listen, please. Shizune is the opposite of how I was. She's always wanted to draw people close to her. That's the only reason Shizune was interested in me in the first place, I think. And I think I was determined to not let that happen in a way. Misha cast her eyes downward, understanding perfectly. I never realized how hard that can be. And now I feel like I'm going to return the favor, even if it takes twice as long. I already learned a second language just to get this far. It wasn't as hard as I thought, but it was definitely hard. Sometimes I felt like I was clawing my way up a mountain with how my hands hurt. And you did the same thing. And it was for the same reason, wasn't it? That's really amazing. Which is why it makes me sad and a little angry that you would say a stupid thing like that. That's just what I believe, anyway. Her shoulders slump, and Misha almost slides to the floor, like she's drained of all energy. You're too dramatic, Hee-chan, she says while looking away, turning her head around almost as if she wants to look out at the school grounds, but not turning it enough to do so. The door behind us opens, the sound only barely able to be heard over the ambient breeze. I've been looking everywhere for you two. Is this some secret meeting? She walks over to us, leaning against the fence next to Misha, as if she needs to stop and catch her breath before pushing herself off it and continuing. I'm bored sitting in the student council room every day without either of you ever coming by. Taking some time off is fine, but this is just too much. Normally, Misha and I would be joking, making excuses for ourselves at this point. This time there's only silence. Shizune, always expecting resistance, is thrown off balance by the lack of it. A few seconds pass in uneasy silence, which makes Shizune break with an ear-shattering snap of her fingers, smiling as if to say, Eureka. Let's go do something together. Like what? Anything! We should go to the student council room first, and then figure it out from there. Seems like a trick to get us to do work instead. Very funny. Misha laughs, managing to let out a restrained wah-ha-ha. That Shizune can't see it makes me feel better. It means that it wasn't only for her benefit. I was thinking that you both could actually help me with something. What else is there? We can't go out to eat. We already ordered in yesterday, and that was already breaking policy. 3 days in a row would be unforgivable. But that was ordering in, Shi-chan. Going out to eat is different. Yeah, totally different. You're both kidding yourselves. Before I can reply, Shizune grabs my hand, limiting my ability to do so. My options cut down so drastically, I have no choice but to settle for making a face at her instead. She only makes one back before extending her hand to Misha as well. When Misha is reluctant to take it, I walk forward as far as holding onto Shizune at the same time will allow me and take her hand myself. She only has a second to smile before Shizune starts pulling us impatiently towards the door, binding us together like a human chain. Although it's dangerous, none of us seem to think of letting go any step of the way. Through the school, out of the doors, and across the grounds. This feels familiar. As if we've walked like this before. The three of us, hand in hand. Of course, the mood was a lot happier then. I can see the lingering sadness on their faces, and it makes me wonder if anything has really changed. If this is all just a distraction or not. But I think it's just me slipping back into being cynical because of the moment. It's a start. I have a lot of thoughts, but I'm not sure how to verbalize them if I'm being honest. Only a day later, the weekend has already arrived. I drop a heavy stack of books on the librarian's desk, not meaning to slam them, but they weigh so much that it happens anyway. Yuko bolts out of her chair with enough force to dislodge her glasses. She barely holds on to them. Oh, hi. Sorry, I'm here to return all those books I was supposed to. That's great, but I wish you'd brought them back sooner. It wouldn't be a problem if the library had more copies of everything, but it doesn't, and they act like that's my fault. They? Other students. They can be, pretty pushy. Sorry, it just kind of slipped my mind. It's been a pretty rough couple of days. Oh, I suppose you don't want to talk about it? Yuko meekly turns to the task of logging all the books I've brought back as returned, treating them with extreme care and precision, like she's a bomb disposal technician rather than a librarian. Over the past couple of days, I've been thinking about something Misha said. Of course, I'd thought about everything she said, but one thing in particular keeps coming back. She talked about how she didn't want to miss people or think about being apart from them anymore. When I recalled those words, they stopped me cold, like a sharp slap across the cheek. In just a few months, we'll be graduating. Misha and Shizune were nearly inseparable, but after graduation, they might never see each other again. I wonder if that thought is what started all of this. If Misha were to try and talk to Shizune about it, Shizune likely wouldn't think about it at all. It would sadden her, and for that reason, she would try and toss it away. For someone like Shizune, who is so quick to suppress her worries, it would be easy. Misha turned out to be more sensitive than she seemed. It would have crushed her, even more so because Shizune's reaction could come off as pretty cold. I don't know if that's how Shizune handled it, but it seems likely, and I can understand why she would act that way. I can also understand why Misha would be troubled by the thought of drifting away from someone who is such an important part of her. I never thought about graduation until that moment. Then I began to think things like, has it only been less than a year? I started thinking of everyone I've met. Not only Shizune and Misha, but everyone else. They were fond thoughts. Then, I thought of losing them. Suddenly, I could understand Misha's anxieties. It could be nice to talk to someone about it. Actually, I kind of want to. With whom? I can sense an obvious tinge of apprehension in her voice. With you. Ah, really? Are you sure? Why me? Because you're an adult. That's it? Ah, that's... Wincing, she fidgets a little in her seat, trying to get comfortable in a pretty uncomfortable-looking way. I guess this means she's okay with it. Is it hard, being an adult? Yes. I don't think I'm that old, though. It's surprising that students now, like Shizune and you, wear stuff like perfume or colognes. I never did. I still don't use them. By the way, you're not wearing your grape cologne today. Yeah, it wasn't working out for me. Oh, that's good. And I thought the same thing. Sorry. Yuka looks genuinely sorry, and I feel a pang of guilt. I smile despite myself. A tiny lie like that can come back to bite me in the butt. For Misha, trying to conceal how she felt in order to put on a happy face for Shizune for so long must have been crushing, and she just kind of buckled. Someone I know brought up that they were going to be graduating, and I realized that I'd never thought about it before. I feel stupid that I could go so long and never think about these things. I met a lot of great people, and I've never thought about what it's going to be like to graduate and maybe never see them again. There are still ways you could keep in touch. Yeah, I guess. I feel childish. I know everyone is going through the same thing, probably. I bet you hear this kind of problem a lot. No, I haven't been working here that long. I was worried about the same thing when I graduated from high school. I didn't go to school here, though. I also miss my friends, and I wish I'd kept in touch with them better. I should have tried harder. Yuko isn't really helping me feel better, and she clams up quickly when she sees it on my face. I don't want to look back and have those same regrets. I wonder if Shizune even thinks about that kind of stuff, because she goes on sometimes about how she doesn't want to live with any regrets. Wow, that sounds impossible to me. I nod, only halfway wanting to agree. Even so, I think that's kind of admirable too. Kind of brave. Don't you think so? Brave is a new way to put it. Yuko shakes her head hesitantly, or insistently. It's true though, and also kind of intimidating. Jeez, you shouldn't be intimidated by high schoolers. I'll try. She turns away to start folding a sticky note over and over again. Pretty idle behavior for a university student, but more importantly, I wonder if I said the wrong thing to her. Being around Shizune for so long, I can't stop reading as much as I can into every moment of silence. If Yuka were the type of person who didn't get intimidated by high schoolers, it probably wouldn't be so easy to talk to her. It's all too easy to want to shed some negative quality of yours. When I think of everyone I know, it's those qualities that I like the best. I don't think I really regret it. I thought as long as I could remember the good times, that was enough. I don't know. Sorry. I noticed a couple students starting to trickle to the library and decide that my time is up. No, that was helpful. I feel like two of my friends are fighting because one of them is taking the fact that we might not see each other again after we graduate really hard, and the other is probably being stoic about it, which only makes it worse. I don't get how I'm supposed to handle this kind of situation. It doesn't seem like this kind of problem where I'll have to end up taking a side, but it could turn out that way, and then I have no idea what I'm going to do. You should tell them they shouldn't fight. I know. Fighting is bad. It's not Shizune and Misha, by the way. Oh, okay, I wasn't really thinking that, though. How embarrassing. Even though I knew it would be, I still feel my cheeks redden, and even so, I still said something so transparent and blatantly a lie, but it could be that sometimes that is the right way. Do you have any books about people who have to make hard decisions? We have a lot of self-help books. It's funny that I can find that surprising, because I wouldn't have only a few months ago. I meant about, not for. There aren't many, right? Yeah, not many, I mean. Though I feel a bit apprehensive about it, I want to talk to Shizune. I don't understand why I feel nervous about it, and that disgusts me a little. It also motivates me to look for her right then and there, although I don't have to look very hard. She's in the student council room as always. Worryingly, Misha isn't with her. When Shizune notices me and looks up from her paperwork, the first thing she asks is where she is. I don't know. There's so much uncertainty in her answer that I can't let it go just like that. She's missing a lot of school. Are you the attendance police? It's really strange coming from the student council president. Shizune hides a laugh behind a cupped hand, and I start to think that I might be worrying for nothing, but then her laughter slowly fades away to a more serious and pensive expression. You're right. Yesterday, I catch the hint of a knowing smile on her face when she sees my poorly hidden panic at the word. Despite her best efforts, she can't help being satisfied and eliciting surprise from everyone else to the very end. Even then, I can see that she has bigger concerns from how quickly her smile vanishes. Before either of you noticed me, I saw what you were saying. I'm not stupid. If I hadn't, I could still see through Misha while we were walking back. Maybe she hadn't told me everything later. She didn't make a big deal out of it, but any way you look at it, it's my fault, isn't it? What did she tell you? Shizune winces at the question, though it's clear she's been expecting it. She follows it up with a very grand gesture. A lot. Like, that I can be selfish and confusing. I try too hard to bring people around me and then push them away. I didn't know what I should do. I thought she was right to mention all of those things, so I just agreed with her, but that only made things worse. I don't understand. Adjusting her glasses, she looks pretty tired. I hope it isn't because she's been busy avoiding Misha, but I can't help consider the possibility seeing where this conversation is going. It's true, even the student council being this small, and us always being swamped with work, it's my fault. I might have even ended up driving a lot of people off and away from the student council acting like that. Shizune wags a finger mischievously, acknowledging that might is an understatement. However, from how wearily she does it, it's obvious the humor is only to put me at ease and therefore not genuine. Like Lily, for instance. She was the first person to join when I started trying to recruit people again after everyone else left, but because they couldn't stand me, I guess. We managed to put together the last festival and ran a booth together at the last minute. But I didn't like her because I thought she was selfish, always holding us up in order to tend to one friend of hers or another, and leaving Misha and me alone to sort out things involving the whole school by ourselves. If there were any problems she was going through, she would leave us high and dry while she panicked over it, and wouldn't come back until it was solved. She would focus on it 100% and be too preoccupied to focus on any student council work. That was the worst to me, that she could be so nice and still take so many people for granted. Why even join the student council then? It seems so short-sighted and selfish, don't you think? But it's actually me who is that way. Like Misha said, always trying to pull people close to me and then shutting them out. And that's how I've treated her, which makes me a bad friend. And it feels like I did the same thing to you then, so I guess I'm a bad girlfriend too. Even if Misha says that you might as well replace her. I'm angry that I screwed things up enough for it to get this out of hand. All I wanted was to... She pauses to look for the right words, tenting her fingers in concentration. Make people happy, I think. Even though that seems like a simple way to put it. As she rests her head against her hand, Shizune's bangs fall delicately across her eyes, hidden behind those polished glasses reflecting just the tiniest bit of light. It may be wrong to think so, but right now she seems especially beautiful, like a more complete person. It feels like this is my first chance to respond to her outpouring of emotions, replacing Misha as Shizune's interpreter. Misha must be joking. It took all my energy to keep up with her just now, her signing filled with gestures that I've never even seen before. Likely their habits picked up from Misha and developed from years of them being together. I could never replace someone so close to her. I like you because I like you. Not because I got tricked into it by you. Despite how hard she tried anyway, I continued to stare back into her eyes, as sharp as ever. The first time I saw them, they had seemed a bit intimidating to me, like the eyes of a predator. That hasn't changed, which I find reassuring. I still want to make everyone happy. Starting with Misha. Shizune looks a bit annoyed that I would imply she would start with anyone else and smiles confidently, as though a friend's sadness is a physical opponent that she can just strangle into submission. God, I sure wish that were the case sometimes. Of course, obviously, naturally. Taking off her glasses, she leans back in her chair and lets out a sigh. It's the first time I've seen her without them on, but I don't get a good look before she slips them back on. Oh, I didn't even get to look at it that much. Well, it's actually kind of nice. But I'm too tired to start today. First thing tomorrow. Do you want to help? Yeah. And I have other student council stuff you could help with me with while you're at it. Although it turns out there isn't much other work at all. Alright, so... Operation Get Misha Her Groove Back. Let's see how that goes. The banging is always so loud. There's no school today, so I expected to be able to sleep in late. Unfortunately, I'm awakened by someone mercilessly pounding on my door at 8 in the morning. At first, I think it could be Kenji, but when my shouts of annoyance go unanswered, I realize it's Shizune. She immediately backs away from the door when I open it, quickly concealing something behind her back. Kind of ominous. What's that? Is it a surprise? But don't really like surprises. The displeased expression on her face says that she wants me to stop being such a wet blanket, but she's too busy fumbling with what's behind her back to sign it. It must be frustrating for her because seconds later she swings the object out proudly and also a little dangerously. Ta-da! A picnic basket! We could have lunch together, the three of us! It's not really a basket, it looks more like a plastic bag. Taking a quick look inside, I can see that most of the food inside is also store-bought, not homemade. Some items still have the price stickers on. There's a very diverse selection here, though. Even a tiny tin of caviar. I'm slowly becoming more impressed with this lunch. The pick a grape out of there and pop it in my mouth. Don't just take things like that. I spent all night perfecting this final weapon. Shizune places it down on the ground to free up her hands and immediately starts playfully tapping it between her feet like a soccer ball. Definitely not what you should do to anything you're going to call a final weapon. All part of my get Misha to stop being so depressed plan. I stayed up all night last night working on it. When we tried to order in last time, Misha barely got anything and used it as an excuse to leave early. I won't let her get off so easily this time. The food is already here, so she'll have to sit down and eat with us. It's the perfect bait. Doesn't everything look irresistible? I tried to make it myself, but I don't know how to make it all look all fancy, so I ended up buying everything. Still looks delicious, doesn't it? It should be. She's very perky today, juiced up on the thought of cheering Misha up, although it's odd to see her so happy about it. I know that she's just as unsure now as she was yesterday. The only thing that's changed is that by viewing it as another sort of challenge for herself, she can put her worries aside and throw herself into it recklessly. It's worked well enough for Shizune so far. Wouldn't surprise me if it's the only way she knows how to live. It's a little early, though. It's already 8 in the morning. That's late. Even Misha gets up at 8 or 9. She goes to bed at 7 p.m., but that isn't important. That's a lot of sleep. Dang. It's very important. Shizune ignores me, gagging my hands by taking them in hers instead of a more proper rebuttal. The way she lingers against me a moment longer than expected feels really comforting. The point is, she's awake right now, walking around somewhere. Let's go find her. She sprints out the door impatiently, and her gusto as she drags me along looking for Misha makes me feel more like I'm following a hunter on a safari than looking for a mutual friend. We don't have to look very hard. Even cropped short, her pink hair stands out. The fact that she's just meandering around the grounds out in the open makes it even easier. Now I'm sounding like a safari hunter. Misha! Huh? Didn't mean to do that. Dang it. We were just looking for you. It's a good day for a picnic. You should join us. We even have caviar. Not sturgeon, of course, but really tasty. Caviar? Sturgeon? Apparently finding it annoying to have to explain anything at length with only one hand, Shizune gives up quickly. Fish eggs. What? It tastes good. Sorry, Chi-chan, I think I'll pass for today. When Misha starts to walk away, Shizune holds the bag out towards me, needing me to take it so that her hands can be free. Oh boy, here we go. As soon as it's out of her hand, she darts off in front of Misha, cutting her off. So that's what it's like to be on the other side of that. I made so much food, though. Sorry, I'm just not hungry right now. When are you going to be hungry, then? Chi-chan, that's impossible to know. You can guess. The tension between them infuriates Shizune, and she's trying to deal with it by trying to tear through it, but that approach isn't going to work. I thought and hoped that Misha had gotten herself together, but I guess she was just cut too deep by what happened. In that case, it's really out of anyone's hands, I believe. That Shizune might understand that on some level. If she didn't, she wouldn't have any doubts at all. Because she can't speak, though, I've learned to notice her hesitation. It's very clear. She might as well be screaming. Misha waves her hand in front of her, not wanting to continue the discussion any further, and quickly slips away. Shizune fumes silently, reluctant to let her go, but having no way to keep her here. As Misha's back grows smaller in the distance, I wonder where she's headed off to. Is Shizune wondering the same thing as she bites her lower lip in frustration? I want to touch her reassuringly on the shoulder, but I stop myself, not knowing if it's the right thing to do. Not because she looks fragile, vulnerable, or sad. It's the opposite. After a while, her expression belays no emotion at all, only contemplation. Suddenly she whirls around. Now the food is going to go to waste. Yeah. That makes me mad. Although it's obvious Shizune is more hurt than mad. The bag dangling from my hand feels like it's filled with lead. Yeah, let's go on a date. Let's use it then. Oh, well, all right. Well, got that going for us at least. Where do you want to go? I don't know. The roof? It's my favorite spot. A wry smile appears on her face, disappearing just as quickly. Convenient we have the same favorite location. On the roof, I immediately crack open the caviar, ignoring a derisive look from Shizune all the while. I end up putting it down immediately. Where are the toast points? I didn't make any. Like I told you, I bought everything. Not toast points, though. Why is that important? Anyway, they don't just sell toast points. That'd be stupid. I bet they do. Maybe in stores for the exceptionally lazy, but not here. Why don't you use a tortilla chip? A tortilla chip is not the same. They're both triangles. Stop being such a princess. I didn't know there was a proper way to eat caviar. This is the first time I'm hearing of it. It's not the same thing at all. I can't be decadent like this. But anyway, how could she not know? She lives in a huge mansion. Shizune takes the opportunity to scoop half the tin onto a single chip in the meantime. Hey! I'm sure it doesn't even taste good like that. There's too much food here for two people. Because we can't communicate with each other while we eat, both Shizune and I have a lot of time to sit in silence and think about the facts that Misha, the person she set all this up for, isn't here. It's annoying that she isn't here. Can't even enjoy my meal like this. I stare at the paper cup next to her, still half full of juice. Not that did you want all this food to go to waste? I wanted Misha to be here too. That was the whole point. I wasn't able to accomplish what I wanted to, so it doesn't taste good. You should eat it. Eat more. I want the fried things, though. You keep eating them all, and even though you say that they don't taste good. Fried things are always delicious. There's always an exception for them. You'll get fat. I think you're being too aggressive. It's like I told you yesterday, I'm only trying to cheer her up. Yeah, but it seems more like you're planning a military campaign. I'm only trying to take it seriously. And this is the only way I know how to do it seriously. I feel so powerless. I hate it. I can't even yell at her too, even though I want to. Yelling is for serious occasions, right? More or less, yeah. You should yell at Misha for me. You can tell her that I want her to stop being so down, even if she feels sad and alone. It's no reason to stay gloomy forever. Why don't you? I already did. Over a game of dice. Under over, to be exact. I won. 5 times. Only the 2 of them would take so much pride in winning games of pure chance. Then I tried to talk to her, but it didn't go so well, obviously. Well, so did I. I tried and failed. My goal has always been to do everything better, though. Yeah, your one-upmanship is really something. But I failed, too. That's why I want your help. I don't understand what I'm supposed to do anymore. For someone like Shizune, who's only ever been interacted with the world by locking horns with every obstacle in her path, understanding only goes so far. I want to tell her that she doesn't have to worry. That she's great at cheering people up, because she managed to cheer me up my first week here. In retrospect, I must have looked like kind of a jerk being in such a sour mood from the moment I came here, even though I don't think I was being unreasonable. Even having months to digest it, finding out that you had a heart defect like I did is hard to deal with. I'd had much less time to mull over suddenly, being transferred to Yamaku on top of that. Spending the festival with Shizune really helped me out of a rut. I was happy enough to forget the entire time it had felt as though she were manipulating me. I understand now that I'd allowed myself to be manipulated. Even though I felt like I was at the bottom of the world, I still wanted to have a normal life again. I'm sure, because I enjoy what I have now. I think it must be the same for everyone, including Misha. Everyone wants someone there to pull them up out of their self-pity. It's just that Misha always wanted Shizune to be that person, but because they can't be together, I think Misha feels that she can't accept Shizune's hand, and that frustrates Shizune. But even if she could cheer up a stranger like me, then she'll die trying with Misha. I could see it in her eyes, too. Though she tries to treat it like any other problem in her life, Shizune can't do that with Misha's depression. Her thought processes are entirely different, in some ways more careful, in some ways more reckless and frenetic. I believe I said that right. She cares that much more. I end up not saying anything, partly because sitting next to her like this, just the 2 of us, is pleasant enough in itself that I don't want to interrupt the moment with a question. And partly for a more cowardly reason. I've started to think they weren't, but I don't know if her actions that day might have not have been an afterthought, or even a fluke. Just a collection of coincidences. I don't know if that would change anything, but I'm comfortable thinking about it. The fence behind me trembles slightly, and I turn to see that it's because Shizune has fallen asleep leaning against it. Considering she was up all night, it's not surprising. Where does all that motivation come from? Not just in regards to Misha. I'm cynical, so it's hard for me to just accept that anyone can simply be that strong. My first thought was that maybe it's because she hates herself. It's very plausible. Leaning against her, I feel sad knowing that that might be the case. But it could be that we're similar and that we both want to be better people. That's the thing about wanting to be better people. It's not exactly as cut and dry and obvious as one would really desperately hope that it is. Huh. Been a while since I've woken up without having the door slammed on. It seems like I ate too much yesterday because I wake up in the morning feeling just nauseous enough for it to not be a problem. I really can't postpone going into town for shopping though, so despite wanting to roll over and sleep it away, I force myself to get up and dress instead. Somewhere between buying toothpaste and a few other groceries, I end up walking it off. Then I feel hungry. After stopping for breakfast, it hits me just how much time has been gone by. I hadn't expected to be out this long at all. I'm not even sure if I bothered to lock my door. I should really head back. When I get back to the dorm, I see Hideki standing in front of my room from the entrance. I can think of a few things more unexpected, and I can't help thinking I might have a heart attack just from the surprise. Fortunately, it doesn't happen. As soon as he sees me, he says hello in his usual detached way. I'm a little slow to reply to him, so he repeats the greeting without missing a beat. Hello. Is something wrong? I'm just surprised to see you here. Not as surprised as I could have been, since it's impossible to mistake him for anyone else. I'd recognize those weird clothes summoned anywhere. Come to think of it, I'm really surrounded myself with distinctive-looking people lately. Hideki's head lolls slightly to one side, a little too easily. Why? Is it unusual to see someone's family come to see them? Well, yeah, actually. So Hideki isn't such a robot after all. In fact, it's almost as if he's more caught off guard by the fact that he can be caught off guard, but he recovers quickly. Nonetheless, in that brief moment, he looks his age. That uncomfortable side of his seems like it the more honest, and I wouldn't mind seeing more of it. Not so much, though, that I'd go out of my way to pry. Only Shizune would be that zealous. That my thoughts get so far as proof she's rubbing off on me. I think that you'd have a reason, that's all. There is one. See? Anyway, we can talk about while we're looking for her. That's why you're here, right? Shizune is in the student council room. I was looking for you. We might take a trip soon. A family trip. Do you think she would want to come with us? Yeah, I don't know. She's been kind of on the warpath lately with a lot of stuff, and when she's focused on something, she won't just drop it. I guess you would know that. Deki looks more at ease walking around than I did my first week. So, this isn't your first time here? Just throwing it out there, of course. Completely ignoring the surrounding environment could just run in the family. I had to explain why Hideki seems so distant from Shizune. I get the feeling there's more to it than just her deafness. No, but this is the first time I could walk around so much. It's kind of weird here. I bumped into a person who told me women are not allowed in the dorms. After I told him that I'm not a woman, he told me I was misleading and then accused me of being an assassin. Of course you would run into him. I was warned that he was not only invincible, but strong enough to probably destroy the building with a punch, or at least knock over the painting hanging in the hallway. By the way, that painting is actually screwed into the wall. That implies Kenji definitely tried to punch the wall so hard to knock the painting over and it didn't work, and he probably hurt himself. Yeah, that's the guy across the hall from me. He's okay. He is not okay, in any sense of the term. I see. Oh, you left your door open. It was unlocked when I came here. I'm a little annoyed that Hideki knows that. The only way he could is if he had opened my door, but the feeling passes. It doesn't matter. I have nothing to hide or steal. Your soccer ball is really nice. That's one of the things that doesn't matter. If you are a soccer player, a soccer ball is very important. I guess it is. The thought makes me smile. I'm here because my father bought a new phone and he wants me to update Shizune in case she needs to call him. I thought that you should know too, since you're her boyfriend, aren't you? Yeah. Why? Just in case there's something wrong or she needs anything. It isn't what I meant, but I'll go along. Even if she did, she probably wouldn't call. That is how she is. Well, if you know, coming all the way here for that though? You could have updated her via email. He doesn't like using emails. Of course not. So old-fashioned. Don't tell me he still does business through regular mail or something. Silence. Now it's my turn to feel awkward. Is Deki taking it literally, or did I hit the mark? Nah, I'm sure that what it really comes down to is that he doesn't want to see his daughter and stay in contact with her. In the end, they are still family after all, even though they play at being at each other's throats. Uh-oh. Don't like any of this. The door to the student council room is open, and Hideki and I walk in on Jigoro in mid-rant. He sees us, but decides that it's not something worth stopping rambling at Shizune over. This is really shaking my faith in my previous assumption. Especially because I don't think he realizes what deafness actually is and refuses to learn. When I was in the student council, our rooms were smaller. Colder, too, like working out of a meat locker. Not like you spoiled kids. What a waste, sitting here in your giant room doing nothing. Aren't there only 3 of you? That makes so many desks only seem like an unnecessary display of mindless decadence. Appalling. You must use the desks you need and not one more. It's part of my code. It may be odd for me to think so, but hearing only one half of a conversation is pretty strange. Also, that's some code. Now that I've arrived, he changes the subject and starts talking about the reason he's here. Hideki and I are going on a trip. What are you doing? Does everyone who use sign language mumble while they do it? No, but I'm just an amateur. It helps me think. It's kind of like a force of habit. Just an amateur. Unbelievable. Fine. He turns back to Shizune just in time to catch her shaking her head from side to side. Are you sure you won't be coming along? She reiterates the gesture. Fine. Can you tell her to call me if she needs anything? Yeah, sure. I really think sending an email would have been easier, though. I'm not going to read emails on my phone. If she won't speak, she can call Hideki. I suppose if I have to be reached, you would have to call me, or that other girl would have to call me. Actually, all 3 of you can just call Hideki. And with that, he swiftly turns and leaves, Hideki trailing behind him. A long trip for something that took 5 minutes. Neither of them can express their feelings very well. In Shizune's case, I have to question whether she would if she could. It explains a lot, but she doesn't seem unhappy with the arrangement. Even so, I wonder if she might be. When the door closes behind them, leaving Shizune and me by ourselves, she lets out a deep breath that seems to echo in the silence of the room. It's totally ridiculous asking me to go on a trip. The timing couldn't be worse. It overlaps the student council elections for one. Second, I haven't even cheered up Misha. If you consider that, it's annoying to even have anything else to think about. Yeah, but you might be too focused on all that stuff right now. Shizune adjusts her glasses roughly. Completely 100% right. The minute I decided I was going to cheer up Misha, everything else went on the back burner, I suppose. I think your dad might care more about you than he lets on. I know. So then it could be a good idea. No. And then again, more firmly, as it is for both of us. No. After coming this far, I can't take a break. A vacation would be jarring. It'd be like waking up in a different life. Yesterday was like my vacation, so now we have to go all in. I'm sorry, but it's just how I am. I remember what Yuko said, that she found Shizune brave in a kind of way. I think I understand what she meant, and I have to agree. Even though it could also be called recklessness and foolishness, and pointless stubbornness, I guess you could call it bravery too. It's all kind of part of the same, slider scale, really. However, I can see there's a fundamental flaw in Shizune's thinking that I hadn't noticed until now. I'm sure that Shizune had reflected longer and more arduously than I could about where she messed up to create such a bad situation between her and Misha. However, as typical for her, she wouldn't let it hold her back and immediately set out to fix the problem. This completely ignores a large part of the problem, Misha herself. Dang it. Moving from critical introspection to holding on Misha as part of my goal causes the person to get lost in the shuffle. Shizune has said a lot in the past few days, but nothing about how Misha feels. Shizune's way of thinking is abnormal. Few people would reject a friend and then expect things to go back to the way they were so easily. Shizune does because she sees life as, if I had to put it simply, capable of being segmented and compartmentalized. Misha, like anyone else, sees it as a whole experience, a long, continuous journey where one moment of heartache can follow you forever. For Shizune, an event is an event, and few of them cross over. Life is compartmentalized around triumphs, failures, and decisions, where each one stands as its own story, and it's why the thought of a vacation is jarring to her. It's why she can only appreciate people's immediate emotions. It's exactly how someone obsessed with living in the moment would think, really. Likewise, Shizune can see Misha as a friend, but I doubt that she ever thought of Misha as anything more until recently, or questioned anything about her. Misha as Misha would be enough for her, even if to Misha it would be unbelievably stifling. Shizune is just Shizune to herself. It's likely she doesn't even think about the after effects of her actions in the long term, as long as they stir up other people's lives. To Misha, though, I'm sure it would made her seem almost heroic, like Yuko admiring her bravery, even myself. And Shizune's thoughts on that sentiment are that it would be good she could touch someone's life, but it ends there. It's easy to captivate, much harder to nurture. On to the next thing. Thinking of life in terms of almost completely isolated events is a tendency to isolate a person too. Though she's trying to remedy it now, the point remains. There's simply no way Shizune could have avoided hurting Misha. Her emotional investment in Shizune was something Shizune couldn't account for, so she didn't. Combined with her personality, it was inevitable. Both of them have pretty much told me all of that in bits and pieces over the past couple months I've known them. In the middle of considering their differences, an idea begins to take shape in my mind. Are you working on your plan right now? This second? Your cheer up Misha plan? Of course. I was thinking about it the whole time I was being yelled at. It's not like I could hear him talking anyway, so might as well try to be productive. Flicking her glasses up the bridge of her nose with an oddly triumphant air, she taps her fingers against her temple. It's multitasking. Really? Isn't it more like you're able to concentrate on something like that because you can't hear? Well, whatever. When I ask her what she thinks of mine, it turns out we both arrived at a similar idea. I like ideas, especially if those ideas turn out to be good ideas. Boy, howdy do I hope this is a good idea.